Welcome to Performance Driven Living, the podcast where we question everything. We don't tiptoe around tough topics, we walk right into them. Not to provoke, but to get closer to what's real. You might not agree with everything you hear, and that's okay. The show isn't about being right, it's about being real. These conversations are meant to stretch your thinking, challenge assumptions, and spark something deeper. The views shared are those of our guests and may not reflect those of the host or team. And while we dive deep into health, performance, and transformation, this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before making changes to your health or lifestyle. Take what lands, leave what doesn't. But whatever you do, don't stop questioning.
We are back on the Performance Driven Living podcast, and we're actually at the Dave Asprey Biohacking Conference this week, actually. So that's kind of fun because I get to have some really cool people on. And our first recording that we're doing here is with my friends, Dr. Lisa Piper and Wendy Cohn-Osbourne. Now, I've noticed you started throwing the Osbourne in there more lately. It was just Wendy Cohn.
It was just Wendy Cohn, I know. And then I started working so hard, and I'm never with my husband, who's the Osbourne. So I decided that I'm going to, bring him with me everywhere I go.
I like it. Yeah, I was like, she's putting Osbourne on. I'm like, and I know you're married. And I was like, but did you just get married to two people? Like, what just happened?
So Cohn is my maiden name.
Got it.
Then I became Cohn-Osbourne, and it's a mouthful, but it's a mouthful just like bioenergetic therapeutic, right?
Actually, it was a little while ago. I interviewed Philip von Holzendorf-Fehling.
I couldn't even say his name.
I know, and it's like he's there, and I'm like, Philip, I'm going to destroy your name, so I'm going to disclaim ahead of time. And then I said it, and he's like, no, actually, you got it right. That's impressive. I'm like, now it just flows.
Yeah, I'm going to have to practice that one a little bit.
Von Holzendorf-Fehling. You guys are definitely going to need to do that because I know you're going to be working with him in the near future.
Yeah.
You will have already been working with him by the time this airs, so that's fantastic. So preemptive congratulations.
Thank you.
But I'm excited for you guys because, again, the goal of performance-driven living is for me to find people who are going to join me and teach me something. And I know a lot of stuff. In a weird way, I just know a little about a lot. So when I find people that know more than I do, I want to be this sponge and upgrade myself, which I love that upgrade, right? Like Dave Asprey nailed it on that branding. Mm-hmm. And Wendy and Lisa are the owners of a company called Code Health. And most people know them as the Code Girls. And the Code Girls here, they sell water. And I know that just sounds weird because they sell water one drop at a time. And I'm like, that's the most special real estate deal you can imagine, right? Like there's this company in Scotland that'll sell you 1 square foot of land so that you can claim that you have land in Scotland, and which officially makes you a duke or something. I forget.
A lord or
something.
A
lord, yes. Mm-hmm. But you guys sell water by the drop. And I'm like, this is kind of like selling land in Scotland by the foot. But yours is very special water, and I want to unpack this because I get it because I know you guys and have learned a lot from you in the way that your product specifically works, but about how everything works. But it's weird, right? It's a little woo-woo in a lot of people's space, and it's not, but I think woo-woo is the phrase we use to talk about the things we don't understand.
Yep, true.
And I want to take the woo out of what you do because I think it's just a matter of understanding it. And so Code Health, you're selling water by the drops, you got your perfect product promo pitch going here.
Here we go.
What is Code Health?
Well, the Code brand is a line of bioenergetic therapeutics, and like Wendy said, that is a big word, but we're using energy to affect your biology. That's all. And it's really so simple because we are imprinting saline solution, medical grade saline solution, with subtle energy patterns that up or down regulate the body to restore balance. So when your body is out of balance, you experience that as a symptom. So we use exactly what you're made out of, salt water and energy, to restore that balance in the body.
So in a recent conversation, I'm going to draw some correlations here. For those of you that are familiar with Lila Quantum, that's Philip von Holzendorf-Fehling's company. Mm-hmm. And Lila, when Philip and I were talking on this podcast, we had a lot of conversation around biofield and this idea that we attract what we emit. because energy seeks like energy, right? And it's kind of like magnets, right? Like magnetic forces that actually do that. And what's interesting is we were talking beforehand about even my book, Radical Generosity, right? Like for me, it's almost become, well, I put it out there to the universe and say, oh, look, I'm radically generous, right? I'm like, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm under a magnifying glass now because everybody's like, no, you're not, you're a jerk. Some do say that. But this whole idea of energy and how our bodies are energy, this quantum space, it's still very new for people to understand because we've been taught that we live in a very tactile world. Like if I can see it, hear it, feel it, touch it, taste it, then it must be real. But there's something that lives outside of what we can actually engage with our senses, I would say. What is that? Like that may the force be with you kind of stuff, right? Like what is that, and how does that relate to when you say we imprint the energy? Like to you, those are very normal words. Those are not normal words to me.
Right.
Like imprinting energy on saline.
Well, let me say this first about energy. Okay. Anyone who has ever had a slipped disc in their neck and felt the electrical sensation of a pinched nerve knows that we are we are electrical beings.
Yes.
The brain fires and wires on a neural circuitry, sending signals and messages to your whole body. You don't see that happening, but it's happening. Yeah. You have to know it's happening because if you're thinking, then it's happening, right? You're breathing. You breathe. The life force is your oxygen that you breathe, and you're oxygenating your cells. Your blood is pumping. Your heart is beating. You're not doing anything. Right. All of these processes are happening energetically because you're an energetic being.
Well, and there's so much talk right now about the mitochondria, right?
Yeah.
Particularly in the biohack longevity space, and with this Bobby Kennedy tailwind where there's lights being shown on so many areas of health and wellness that people haven't even heard about, the average person, I would say. Like, I think we're kind of a little bit more tuned in than most. But we hear a lot about mitochondrial energy, and we hear about this electricity that drives our body. And I think particularly, and I'll say it, I don't care, like during COVID, there was this whole talk of cytokine storms that were happening in people's bodies where energy was getting through broken cell layers and killing surrounding cells. And you see like this, it's almost like little bombs going off in the body, and everything around it becomes like disaster zone. And again, I'm unpacking that in an incredibly elementary way, but the reality is like that's energy. Yeah. Like that is energy, and that energy can be used just like an outlet. Like we've got
plug in a
different
lamp.
Types of electricity that run into our homes. One runs a lamp, but the other one runs the dryer. Right? Those are different uses of the same electricity by keeping them regulated in some way. You're taking the energy that already exists in our body and really just reshaping it harmonically. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I got one skeptic look and one not.
No.
I want to give her a chance to answer.
It's okay.
But really, our formulas, we have 10 formulas, and they're based on the work of a brilliant biologist who specializes in immunology and virology, and his name is Dr. John McMichael. And what he's done is he's created these molecular formulas, and that's what they're all cellular signaling products designed to up or down regulate to restore balance. What we've done is a little bit different. We have taken his molecular formulas, we have mapped the energetic blueprint of the formula. This is where it gets a little scientific and a little bit more complicated. Okay, we map that energetic blueprint. It's then digitized using advanced technology into the code. The code is the information that was captured in that energetic blueprint. And we structure saline solution using that. You can say structure, you can say imprint, you can say infuse, you can use whatever words you want to use that you understand. But the fact is that the saline solution holds memory. And we have studies by people that have been around since a long time. Look at Dr. Emoto, for example.
I was just about to bring him up.
Okay, he's a brilliant example of water at the crystallizing point of where it's freezing. And if you're putting good vibrations into it, it makes this beautiful crystal structure. If you're swearing at it and playing heavy metal music into it and hating the water, then it looks kind of disorganized and sludgy, and that's the frequency, that's the vibration.
Yes.
So the only difference is we're using frequency to imprint the saline solution with the information based on the molecular formulas.
So you mentioned Dr. Emoto, and for those who don't know who Dr. Emoto is, I'll fill that in and say there were studies that were done where if you're kind to water and it freezes while you're being kind to it, the crystallization patterns are beautiful. Just they're synchronous. They're just beautiful. They look like snowflakes.
They're beautiful. Yeah.
And if you're angry towards water and you say ugly things towards a bowl of water and put it in the freezer, the patterns are distorted and it looks like, some kind of heavy metal kind of
sludgy shard
thing. It's just
very
close
shard,
looking, really just
disorganized.
optically it's not beautiful. And it's interesting that like literally talking at water does this. And I was saying to somebody recently, I was in Puerto Rico back in January and we did like this jungle hike and there was a plant and I'd never seen anything like this. And I want to say they call it the touch me not, but I can't be quoted at that because I haven't been able to look it back up. But it's a fern almost, and it's like really beautiful and it's there. And if you say something ugly to it, it actually retracts. And it was like, watch it, I'm like, no one touched it. Like you just said, and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that. And it flowers back out. And I'm like, this is like freaky sci-fi Harry Potter stuff, right? Like there's no way that this plant just heard what I said. And here's the weirdest part to me. It's like I was in Puerto Rico. This plant shouldn't even speak English, right? Like I said ugly things in English and the plant, like, wait, this plant should only speak Spanish, right? Like even the plants are bilingual in Puerto Rico. But it was funny because I actually did start talking to it ugly in Spanish also, just to see what it would
understand
do.
you better?
It did the exact same thing. Exactly. We had a better conversation. But it actually did the same thing. And I'm like, proving the point that it's like clearly not a language thing, but
it's a resonance.
It's a resonance. It's an
a
energy. It's a
vibration.
vibration.
It's a frequency.
Yeah, that our
It's
energies
an
do that.
exchange of information. And that's exactly what this is.
And to the radical generosity point that I was making, it's like what you put out is what you receive.
Exactly.
And the more that you give generously in life, the more generosity comes back to you. The more you give goodness, the more goodness comes back to you. And I think that's always been like I always go back to ancient wisdom and say it sounds very biblical, right? Like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I'm like, while that's really good advice from grandma, the reality is, since we are scientifically unpacking energy and frequency and vibrational levels, it's actually a scientific phrase.
It is.
Like, do unto others. Like, what you're emitting to the world is literally what you are bringing back. And I'm like, wow, that golden rule is literally a scientific quote.
Well, this is the time we're bridging science and spirituality. It's all the same.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a matter of having the right technology to be able to measure and validate these things scientifically.
Yeah.
Science has to catch up to the spirituality.
I'm so cautious about my words nowadays. And I was always a person who I love words and I would probably be reckless with them more often than not, to be just full confession. But it's like, I will find myself lately, like in this whole idea of psychoneuroimmunology, like I won't say things because there's power in those things. Like I found myself, like, it's a very trendy thing for people to be like, oh my gosh, I'm dead. Like I'm dead, like I'm dying, like, and it's intended to be like, that's so funny, I'm literally losing control. But I'm like, I've gotten to the point that like I won't even use that phrase anymore because I'm not speaking that over my body. Now I want to back into code health a little bit. Wendy, you've said so politely and let Lisa and I talk so much at the time here, but I want to know, how in the world did this even start?
Well, that's a good story. Lisa was actually very, very sick with COVID. And just like I, and our families, we were watching her get more and more sick every day. Well, her father was the next door neighbor to this brilliant immunologist, virologist, Dr. John McMichael. And he had this antiviral formula that had 40 years of research, that he was actually utilizing his molecular formula on COVID patients as well. He knew that COVID was a virus, and the same way that his molecular formulas worked with all other type of virus, it actually stops the replication of the viral load. That is the most incredible part of this formula. Well, they overnighted the formula to Lisa. Lisa followed the explicit directions, and the next day her 104 fever dissipated, and 2 days later she got her taste and smell started coming back. So here, everyone else in the world was talking about vaccinations and medication.
And you're taking water.
And literally. Now, Dr. McMichael, the one thing was that what Lisa spoke about was that all of his formulas work on a cellular level already. So his molecular formula works with resonant molecular signaling. And that goes back to exactly what you were saying as far as resonance. It's the cells are signaling each other. So Lisa got better, and 1 year later she went back up to visit Dr. McMichael, and her father wanted to go thank him for essentially saving her life. And there's a famous line. Go ahead, you say it, because you say it better than me.
Why doesn't everybody have this?
Yeah.
And how can I help you bring it to the world?
Yeah.
I love that.
And I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Well, no, and there's that comes back to in your pain is your purpose
Yeah.
That's
type
right.
statements, right? Like,
That's right.
He connected me to his business partners. I had the first call with them, and I spent the whole time talking about her. I didn't even know if she was going to agree to do this with me. I was like praying, oh my God, please let her agree. I threw her in the fire. She had no idea I was even talking about her. I just got on the phone and I was like, all right, well, this has to happen. So we need to,
But that goes back to that energy attracting energy,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Like last night, we were at the inaugural dinner for the Lifelong Wellbeing Foundation, and you heard Rebecca Sanchez talking about she's in Helsinki, Finland on an I need to get away from the world retreat, and runs into Nick Zoldestani. And, you know, he walks by and she's like, something just whatever. And 2 days later, they end up never meeting before in their lives. And 2 days later, they end up forming a foundation to bring wellness and longevity education onto college campuses. And it's like,
it's incredible.
and energy really does resonate, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's that almost like, you know, love at first sight kind of moment, right? Like I actually, as much as we say like, no, it's not love, you got to get deep, you got to get to know people. It's like, sure, but there is an attraction that happens. I mean, not in a weird way. I'm not suggesting something like that, but I'm just saying the friends we keep, the spouses we choose, like there are fast connections you make with people. I mean, you know it or you don't.
Absolutely. And it goes back to everything is vibration.
Right.
You could walk into a room and the room can be completely still, and the energy is low. Or did you ever see someone or talk to someone and their energy is just so low that it affects your own energy, right?
Oh, I'm terrible with that.
All the time. And then yet you can go and be in a room and walk into a room and the energy is high, or a person, their energy is high. And so it's the resonance between all of us, and it's the energy within each other. And we resonate with, you know, we vibrate. Everything's about vibration.
Yeah.
Code is about bringing back balance into your system.
So I want to ask you a question on that, because I know we're talking a lot about imprinting and frequencies, and people may or may not be familiar with those terms, right? Like they know them, but at the quantum level that you're talking about them, I don't think most people that's a digestible word. But if I were to, you've got a formula, and I use your product. So, I mean, it's testimonial. I use the products. I've been sick. In fact, when you and I had lunch last, I was sick, and we, take some of this with you. And I'm like, yes, I don't have it with me. I'm traveling. And, and I did. I religiously took what I needed to take. And a couple days later, I was back to normal. And I took 0 OTC. I avoid pharmaceuticals as much as possible. Not to diss the pharmaceutical industry, but I just don't believe in putting synthetic things into my body if I can do away with, if I can avoid it. Now, I'm going to say ibuprofen. I'll just throw out a random whatever. I have a headache. I decide that I'm going to go take ibuprofen because ibuprofen is going to actually trigger cells in my body to behave differently. And because they're doing that, they're actually going to, on a neurological level, block the headache, right? The sensation that's happening in my nervous system that's causing that. Your drops, correct me if I'm wrong, emulate the exact frequency pattern of, for instance, an ibuprofen, like one of the one of the products, but it actually goes and emulates the same frequency as something else would.
Yes and no. That's a complicated question because remember, our formulas are a little bit different than what people would know as homeopathy.
Okay.
We call it next level homeopathy because we started as a molecular formula that was already made in a lab. We didn't start from the dilution of the dilution of the dilution of the dilution to finally then get an energy pattern. So in terms of an ibuprofen or an Advil, no, we are not using that information at all. The pain and inflammation formula that we have that works really well for headaches actually comes from a proprietary blend of cannabis. So
okay. So not ibuprofen, but
right. So there's
something else.
There's this proprietary blend of cannabis, and we have mapped and digitized the information of this blend that works very well for things like migraines or headaches or PMS, those types of things. Digitized it into the code, and now you can take 1 drop of saline solution and not have the side effects, not have the psychoactivity. There are no contraindications. You cannot fail a drug test. This is not a drug. This is what you are made out of, right? So there are 10 formulas, and Calm, for example, I'll use Calm because Calm, the basis of the molecular formula that Calm is derived from is nerve growth factor. Now, we know because of all of Dr. McMichael's research that nerve growth factor is used to balance the autonomic nervous system. It's great for people that are overactive. I personally feel that anyone that has an overactive child, this should be the first go-to before synthetic drugs. That's great. Pharmaceuticals are great. When you have an emergency, you need an emergency solution now. You know, you need that. But to maintain balance throughout your daily life, or to have a way to help you manage your mind so that you're decreasing stress, so that your body is functioning more optimally, then this is a great solution. It's an alternative. So that's nerve growth factor. So people coming off of addiction, people that are high achievers,
people who just live in their sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah, people that are stressed out. Yeah. And aren't we all? Whether we know it or not, the answer is yes.
Well, what I love about this, and again, I use the example of how I wasn't feeling well and then got this and got better. And we use the example of, you know, Lisa had COVID and then this ended up curing it. It's like, and I think and I know you talk about the, you know, the traveling medicine cabinet.
Yes.
In your marketing materials, but what I think is important to really highlight about this, and what I would stress, is that we have a tendency to react, which I know is the name of one of your things.
How are your allergies, by the way?
Mine are good.
Yeah, because you just took a drop a minute ago and you're feeling better.
But the idea, so much, we talk about pharmacology, we talk about, you know, OTCs, we talk about homeopathy, and we're still stuck. I want to unpack this for a second. We've grown up, you know, those of us who are maybe not teenagers anymore, we've grown up in an environment that has taught us that we reduce symptoms, right? We don't actually seek wellness, we reduce symptoms. And our whole healthcare system is set up on that premise, which I think we're starting to see a shift. But this idea that we're trying to reduce symptoms. What I love about code is that, yes, it has the ability to reduce symptoms, right? Like you can certainly take something because you have a headache. But the reality is that the I'll use the word formulas, but the imprints that you have here, they're maintaining balance so that you don't ever have a symptom. Like it's almost a preemptive strike.
Proactive.
So that you don't end up with symptoms, that people end up reaching for, again, the medicine cabinet when there's a symptom. And that's the only time we pay attention to it, but we don't pay attention to it before the symptom exists.
Yeah.
And then we're always starting from a deficit when we get into a health conversation, because people ask me all the time, like, but what should I be doing? I'm like, I don't know what's going on in your body.
Right. And some days are different than others.
Correct. And physiologically, you're just built differently than me. Like, my biology is different than everybody else's biology on the planet. You know, the amazing part about that. But you guys are given a balancing position in a body that it never has to become broken.
Right. This is very true. When we created the code kit, it was really made for the entire household because it's safe for people and animals of all ages. So you can be an infant, a toddler, the elderly can take it safely, and it is not dependent on weight or size. Very different than pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals are dependent on the weight, the size, your age, etc. With our drops, going back to exactly what you said, it is a very proactive and individualized approach. And that's where Lisa and I speak all the time about the importance of people to take responsibility for their own health. And if you are proactive and you are balancing your system in all different ways, not just with the code drops, but with everything in life, then you become a healthier person. And so we've given this opportunity for people to take the simplicity of saline solution that is going to balance many different facets of your body. So for instance, balance, it's why we call it balance, is the cellular health formula. So if that's something that, you know, it's derived actually from the 6 most essential trace minerals that your body needs. You take it AM and PM. So there are products like Balance that we suggest AM and PM on a daily basis. Another product that we recommend is Protect. Protect on a daily basis. What that does, and again, it's very scientific, but it evokes an interferon response. So it protects yourself from any foreign agents. It just gives you that extra edge, right?
Boosts immunity.
It boosts your immunity. The idea is, even with Recover, we don't talk about Recover a lot, but Recover is a phenomenal product pre and post workout. It is our muscle and joint formula. And if you take a drop of Recover before you work out and a drop of Recover after, it actually helps your muscles recover with going through a full workout.
So this is what I'm missing?
Exactly.
Yes.
I need to be jacked on it. I'm going to put like a bottle of Recover then. I mean, that's what I need.
You know, it's funny
One
because
drop at a time.
right?
One drop at a time.
It's true. You know, so Recover is a great formula. So the other formula that we say everyone needs a drop of Calm.
Yeah.
Calm is just so great. And we all don't even realize the stress that we are functioning under.
I would love to see if you guys at some point, and I know you don't have this yet, but using Calm and measuring HRV scores.
We
do.
Do you have
Of
that?
course.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a full study.
We've done 2 studies actually, one using the BioWell gas discharge visualization device, which measures your biofield.
Yeah.
And the other is the neural check device, which is a heart rate variability.
Amazing.
All day long.
All day long. So what we did is we had a full study and everyone took a baseline of their heart rate variability, 1 drop of Calm. We waited 30 minutes and then we did another scan. And it is amazing what 1 drop of Calm showed.
Did they do that as a placebo, like a double blind, where some
We
people
did
would
not.
just
This-
We haven't gotten there yet. That is our next step. We actually said we were going to plan to do that this summer. So we're just getting our ducks in a row. We've got to get our participants together, but yeah, we'd like to do that.
You know, there's multiple, if anybody is familiar with this neural check device, Dr. Patrick Porter uses it when they show the before and after of a brain tap session. And so we actually visited Dr. Porter and his team
Yeah.
up in New Bern, North Carolina, and we spent a few days with them and we did multiple tests. And another test we did was blood microscopy, and we showed the difference between the baseline of the blood under the microscope, 1 drop of Calm, and then what the blood looked like afterwards. We
That's
also
crazy.
worked with Dr. Hemel Patel of Versailles Health, and he did in vitro study using 3 of our drops. I'll let Lisa go into the details of it, but there were cell biopsy studies that we did. So this last year, we have really tried in all different ways to take a very scientific approach. So when people say, well, how does a drop of saline solution work? And how does it make this happen or that happen? We actually have the research that shows it.
I love that. I love that. So yeah, I'm a code junkie. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have the stuff, I use it. I'm like, now you've got me thinking, like taking a calm while using my brain tab.
Yes.
So code works synergistically with everything else you're already doing. So brain tap, if you're going to sleep at night, you would take a drop of dream to help you go to sleep while you're using your brain tap and reprogramming your brain and optimizing your brain, optimizing your sleep and everything else that the brain tap does. Calm for stress relief. Or if you're exercising, or
get that one intravenous.
Yeah, I know, right? Or even breathe if you're doing something like molecular hydrogen, or you're going into a yoga class and you're going to do breath work.
Yeah,
and you want to clear out the
hyperbarics
mucus.
or anything like
that.
So that's the other thing. You know, we talk about code as an alternative to over-the-counter and prescription medication, but actually each one of our products really work with everything that is in biohacking and the health and wellness industry.
Yeah, you're like the ultimate support for everything else. And because it's just saline, there's no counterindication.
That's right.
There's
Right.
no...
So for instance, we're here with Upper Aeon, and many of their sessions, they are coding people with our drops. So before anyone goes into the session, we're giving them a drop of calm if they're going into something that's going to bring them into a meditation or peaceful state. We give them breathe, which is great for breath work. And what's incredible, Lisa and I've been doing these conferences now for 2 years, and everyone will open their mouth and just take a drop.
I mean, let's face
Yeah,
it,
no
we've
one
all
questions
put way worse things in our mouth than saline solution.
No one questions it.
Well, at these biohacking conferences,
Here.
there's some
Here.
weird stuff that goes on, right? I get
No.
handed all these psychedelics, and
The other thing is
maybe that's your next drop.
that, you know, the other thing that we do is we're very intentional.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to shift a mindset and we're going to become more proactive and we're going to work on taking care of ourselves now so that we don't have problems in the future, then we have to be intentional with what we put on and in our body.
Yeah.
So by all means, find alternatives, whether it be this or whatever else, whatever else you're doing, you know?
So I have to ask, like we've talked about quantum energy and like attracts like and so on and so forth. You are 2 women who knew each other adjunctly, and you found a formula and dragged her in, and you came in like a powerhouse to go make this happen, and everything went crazy. What is it like entering a totally new market? I want to know the entrepreneur story as we're closing out here. Like, neither one of you have done this before, right? Like, you're all of a sudden in quantum frequencies, and I know you've run businesses and you've been involved in medicine. Like, so there's a synergy in that way, but you're 2 women who are trying to storm an industry and rewrite the way everything is done. And
I'll tell you my take
Uphill.
on it, right?
Uphill.
It is definitely uphill, but I will tell you something. I have known Lisa for many, many years, and she's spoken to me numerous times about everything with quantum energy and entanglement and things that I knew nothing about, and it was completely foreign to me, completely. Well, about a year into being in this company, I was learning and learning and learning more and more, and it became easy enough for me to really understand. But one day, we were at a conference and someone else was talking about a completely different product. And it was if a light bulb went off on my head.
You could see
You
it.
can literally see it. And it clicked, and everything about our products made perfect sense.
She looked at me. I'm sitting, she was on my right, I was sitting on her left, and she looked at me like this.
Like, I get it. I got it.
And it was like, I felt it through my whole body. You know, it was just that moment where she got it. And I was like, okay, well, it didn't have to come from me, but
Here
she
we
got
go.
it from someone.
So now what we try and do, Lisa is very scientific, and so she's amazing at explaining things in a very scientific way. I'm a layman, so the way that I try to explain it to people is the way that it finally made sense to me on how I just got it and understood how it worked. But the bottom line is every time that we speak to someone else and that person understands it in their mind, they actually come up with a catchphrase in a different way that we would say it. And so over the last year, we've really literally tuned in, and figured out how we want to present this to the world. And it's just as simple as one drop under the tongue. The story that we tell is, if you compare what we have to photography. So back in the day, I always say back in the day, we had cameras with film, and photographers would have to take pictures. They didn't know what the end result was going to be until they went to the darkroom. And then they took the film out and went through it a full process, and they had chemicals that they would place the film in, and they also had chemicals that were also on the paper. And there was a very, unique balance between what chemicals they used, and they would finally come out with the image of that picture. Well, in today's world, we have our smartphones that have a digital camera on it, and we have digital cameras, and that takes a digitized image of the information that is being seen through that lens in the perfect image, in the perfect balance, and you have it right then and there. And you don't have to add the chemicals, and you don't have to add all the technicalities of that chemical mixing with your own body. It's the information that you get digitized in one drop, in one split second, just like that picture that you take on the phone.
That's so fun.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, because I'm old enough to remember those cameras.
Back in the day,
and
yeah.
having to wait 7
the
days to
film.
find out
You
how
had
they
to press
turned
the button
out.
to wind it,
Yeah.
and then you had to bring it to CVS.
Put it in a little black jar.
Yeah.
I remember when you actually had to put the flashes on top of the
Oh,
camera,
yeah.
and then
Oh, yeah.
once all 6 bulbs were gone, you had to get a new flash
Oh
thing.
yeah, oh yeah. But
Yeah.
it's just taking all of these other unnecessary things
Yeah.
that you need to do. And again, it's not dissing photographers, because there are photographers, the best photographers that use film and dark rooms and beautiful photography.
an analogy.
But making this analogy that, imagine, it's just information.
Yeah, it's just a code.
It's just the code.
code.
And it's the code.
Simple. It's really simple. The mind wants to overcomplicate everything,
So much so.
but it's
isn't
so
it?
simple.
Guys, I will say this, like, I've had the privilege of watching your journey and seeing what you guys are doing, and watching the way you show up in the world when you go to conferences, when you're at events, when you're participating in this space. And it's no surprise to me that you're crushing it, because you show up in the world in a way that people want to go along with you. Like, people want to participate in what you're doing. And while the formulas are fantastic, I will say that it's you that is driving your brand.
Thank you.
Thank
And the
you.
product
Thank you
is
so
product is
much.
great, but I genuinely mean that it is the attraction to the energy that you both show up in the world with that really makes the impact.
Thank you.
So
Well, it's
thank you for
also-
what you contribute.
It's also people like you with radical generosity that help people.
No,
like
it's
us
you.
grow.
No, it's you.
No, it's you.
No, you're pretty.
You're prettier.
These guys, I can't. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I want you to go check out Code Health. Take a look. There will be information down in the show notes for you to go find them online. Guys, is there anything? I'll give you the last word as we're wrapping up here. Talk to people. Tell them what they
I think just keep an open mind to everything, because if your mind is open, then there are endless possibilities. And Albert Einstein said that frequency medicine is the medicine of the future. And he said that a long time ago. And the future is now.
Feel the drop.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in to Performance Driven Living. Now we get some balance in our lives with Code Health. Take a look at the links, and we'll have all of the contact information for both Code Health as well as Wendy Cohn-Osbourne.
That's right.
And Dr. Lisa Piper will all be down there in the notes. So take a look, check them out, and I encourage you, let's get some balance back. Let's get that preemptive strike so that we're not dealing with symptom reduction, but rather bringing a holistic approach to our own health. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.